just getting her in the room and writing on a paper was a
Was
massive accomplishment. And the student was really happy. She didn't,
that's really
obviously, every student, the grades do matter, but we coached her through treating it like another mock, not worrying
was,
too
yeah.
much, not stressing over it.
Welcome to Smart Profit AI. In today's episode, we'll be diving into a theme that's at the heart of learning, but often overlooked: how private tuition can be about so much more than grades. Exams and results matter, of course, but for so many students, real success is measured in confidence and resilience, and simply the courage to walk into a classroom or sit an exam. To explore this, I'm joined by someone who built a thriving tuition business around these principles, Emma, the founder of Core Plus Tuition. Emma, before we get into the story of Core Plus, could you start briefly by introducing yourself and what led you from teaching into starting your own tuition business?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me, first of all. So I am an ex-teacher. I taught for 13 years in a classroom. And in 2020, basically my whole world changed. I lost my mum. I was 8 weeks pregnant. And of course, we were all going through the pandemic. I got diagnosed with PTSD. I know that being in the school environment wasn't helping my mental health, was having an impact on how I was dealing with these traumatic events. And I decided I needed a way out. Um, I didn't think at the time that tuition was that way out. I just started out basically as a side hustle, as an independent tutor, as a way to supplement my income while I was looking for something else. And yeah, that changed very, very quickly.
It's clear your journey both has personal resilience and professional insight as well. Let's talk about how that shaped your business that you've built. You launched Core Plus during the pandemic, you said. What was the spark that made you take that leap from teaching into the entrepreneurship?
I think it wasn't necessarily a spark. It wasn't necessarily one moment. Like I say, I started it as a side hustle. It was a bit of, I'd always been tutoring since I was about 15. And I thought that it was just going to be an easy way for me to supplement my income, go part-time as a teacher, and then I could look for another job, was where I was going with it. When I started tutoring at that point, I very quickly realised that that's where my passion really lay. And as I was growing the tuition as an independent, I was getting more and more inquiries than I could cope with. And that's when I decided to take on another tutor. And I think it just sort of grew organically for me. It wasn't a case of there was a moment where I went, right, I want to run a business. It just evolved.
And what were some of the biggest challenges in those first 6 months of launching Core Plus Tuition, and how did you overcome them?
So the first 6 months I was on my own. And I think our biggest my biggest challenge at that point was I'd set up pre-lockdown, um, set up with face-to-face tuition, and I had to very, very quickly pivot to online tuition. And that was the biggest challenge, really. I knew I could teach, I knew my subject inside and out, but I didn't necessarily know anything about online tutoring. So it was a very steep learning curve very, very quickly.
And at what point did you realize that this wasn't just a side project? This is something that you want, something more out of, like a full scale business?
Taking on my first tutor definitely made it feel more than just a side hustle. That made it feel more like a business. But I still think it took a little bit longer than that. It still felt like I was playing at business for quite a long time. And it wasn't until I sat in a training session with another amazing tutor, Lindsay Feckerty, and she was talking about being the CEO of your own business. And that was a real pivotal moment for me. I realized that it wasn't just playing anymore. I had to step into that role and I had to take on that role as the CEO. And that was around the time that I actually finally left the classroom. So I left in December 23. As I stepped into that new persona of the CEO, I guess, um, that's when the business started to thrive even more.
Yeah, yeah, of course. You've taken something very personal and turning it into a thriving success now. And so let's look at what makes Core Plus Tuition stand out. So Core Plus Tuition isn't just about aiming for top marks. You said it's about confidence and well-being and central in our past conversations. Can you tell us a bit more about what that looks in practice?
Yeah, so obviously I've come from a classroom and I am not here to teach a bash. Like, teachers do an amazing job, but I know firsthand that life in the classroom's really, really hard. It's really, really hard for our students. It's really, really hard for our teachers as well. And one of my kind of key aims with the business was to create a really safe place for students, but also for my tutors as well. And that's what's driven everything, every decision in the business. That's sort of our direction, our values, our beliefs as a business. So I have done lots of research. I've looked at different options. A lot of tutor businesses go down one route or the other. So they're either online or they're in person, they're one-to-one or they're small group, and they kind of go for what works for them. But I made a very conscious decision that we were going to offer it all. We were going to offer one-to-one. We were going to offer small group. We were going to offer in person. We were going to offer online, because in my head, that means that we really, truly can make bespoke tuition. We can use whatever students, or we can deliver whatever students need. Some students find one-to-one too intense, and our small groups are much better for them. They thrive much more in that environment. For other students, they need a lot more input and they need to make progress a lot quicker. So one-to-one is better for them. So by offering everything, we can truly build confidence where the student needs it. It's not just about what we perceive as building confidence. We work
Yeah,
really closely with the whole family and make sure that it works for everybody.
yeah. And do you have a story of a student that where the biggest win wasn't just grade, but something deeper?
Yeah, so we do a lot of work with students who not only are just what I would call the sort of the normal tutoring, where they just need a little bit of a boost, but we work with a lot of students who are struggling in school and maybe not attending school all the time. Either they're on flexible timetables or they're not in school at all. And we had one particular student who couldn't go into school, couldn't set foot in the building. And we were working with her, um, both myself and my lead English tutor, Sarah, were both working with her. And within a couple of weeks, we'd managed to get her back into school, just within a couple of weeks of working with us, which was amazing. The idea
Yeah,
of her sitting an exam was, well, Mum thought it was impossible when she took us on. Actually, after 6 months, she sat her exams. Um, she didn't
amazing.
pass. She failed. We knew that that was going to happen. We
Yeah,
prepared her for that,
yeah,
because she'd missed so much of school. But
yeah,
actually, just getting her in the room and writing on a paper was a
of course.
massive accomplishment. And the student was really happy. She didn't,
That's really, of
obviously, every student, the grades do matter, but we coached her through treating it like another mock, not worrying
course.
too
Yeah,
much, not stressing over it. Go in, treat it like a mock. You haven't done any mocks because you haven't been in school. This can be your mock, and then we will coach you through to a pass when the time is right for you. Because I think that's the other thing, is the system pushes them through at a certain point, and for certain students, they're just not ready at that point.
yeah,
So it's about changing that narrative for the student and
of course.
telling
Yeah,
them that it doesn't matter at that point. We can do it when you're
yeah,
ready.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was probably our biggest accomplishment to date, was
Yeah.
just getting her through those doors.
Yeah, that is a really big accomplishment. It's just refreshing to hear that tuition's not just about the grades, but it's just the actual personal growth in a person. And it's not about putting pressure on. You can just relax, take your time, and we'll go one step out of it at a time. So that sounds amazing. And of course, scaling your business is a vision that takes more than just one person. How did you go from being a solo tutor to building a team that's offering multiple subjects?
So, as I explained at the beginning, it was very organic. It was about filling a need and finding a tutor that could work alongside me. But that process has evolved in itself. So we've gone from offering just maths to now maths, English, science, French, and history. And I've worked really hard on that process. In the early days, some of the tutors weren't a great match for us. I worked out that actually the recruitment process had to be pretty robust to make sure that tutors aligned with our own values. And I also want to make sure that I've got a team that, in the same way that our services differ, our tutors differ as well, because not everybody is the right fit. I know I'm not the right fit for all of our students. Um, I'm not necessarily the nurturing influence that some of our tutors are. So we have to have that balance. So our recruitment process is really, really robust now, and I make sure that our values are aligned. I make sure that the team is well balanced. And I make sure that we can offer as much as we can to our students.
That's really good. Okay. And what have you learned about leadership and trust when bringing other tutors into core plus tuition?
Well, that's a good question. Think I was already a leader in schools. And it was a part of my role that I was missing from being in school, if I'm honest. I missed being a mentor. I missed helping other people develop. Obviously I was developing students all the time, but doing that with adults is a little bit different, and I missed that. So for me, building a team naturally became quite naturally. But leading a team in the private sector is very different. I really believe that I should trust my tutors and I shouldn't micromanage them. And it's still a learning curve for me. I think it always will be. I think leadership is always a learning curve. I don't think anyone ever gets leadership 100% right all of the time. I think we're always all learning. Um,
Of course.
that for me is a big part of my role as well. But yeah, it's about talking and keeping lines of communication open and making sure that I keep my tutors happy, because at the end of the day, without them, I don't have a business. But also, I believe that it's the right thing to do. I believe that we should look after those tutors. I do believe that they should be paid well, and that they shouldn't be micromanaged, and that they should be
Of
encouraged to
course.
explore and to develop their own practice and things like that. So I create opportunities with them when we have partnerships with different organizations, give them training and things like that. So yeah, there's no one answer to it. I think I'm always learning to be a better leader,
Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
keeping our values close to everything we do,
Yeah.
it's me on that learning journey.
Yeah. And has there been moments where you had to rethink your approach to growth?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I say, a lot of our growth has been organic. It's just kind of happened naturally, or it's been quite reactive. And over the last 12 months, the growth has been so quick that I don't think I was really ready for it.
Yeah.
And that's made me stop and think, I can't just keep doing this organically. I need to be a little bit more strategic about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the approach over the last 12 months has definitely changed.
Okay. And you also mentioned in our last conversation that you did mentoring and marketing. What kind of motivated you to support other entrepreneurs?
So like I say, I missed that mentoring role within school. I missed mentoring other colleagues, but it wasn't, again, it wasn't a conscious decision. It was quite a reactive
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
People were asking me how I'd grown the business, what I'd done, how I'd grown it so quickly, and I was supporting people, ad hoc, friends, people I'd
Yeah.
met. And somebody one day said to me, "Why don't you make this a little bit more formal? Why don't you develop another side of Core Plus?" Um, and
Yeah.
so that's where Make Your Marketing Count came from. And it is still very new, but yeah, I'm supporting other service-based business owners. So it's not just tutors, other service-based business owners who
Yeah.
know their business, their service inside and out, but they're struggling with growth or they're struggling to market themselves. And I'm supporting them either one-to-one, or I run courses as well to help them with their marketing.
That's really interesting and really nice to hear. So what kind of advice would you give to tutors or small business owners about that are struggling with marketing?
I think my biggest piece of advice, and it's what I repeat over and over and over, is done is better than perfect. I think we
Okay.
all overthink too much. I think we worry about how something looks too much, and we spend
Yeah.
too many hours down the rabbit hole of Canva.
Yeah.
And actually just getting something out there, just telling people you exist, whether that's a conversation when you're on the school run, whether that's you happen to bump into someone in the supermarket, like just talk about your business as much as possible and get used to talking about your business, because marketing isn't necessarily what people think it is. It's not just advertising your business. Marketing is any time you're talking about your business, whether that's on social media, in person, like just get used to talking about your business. Don't worry too much. Don't worry about perfectionism, and just get out there and talk about your business.
Of course, yeah. And do you see a link between helping students gain confidence in their business?
It's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. It's,
Awesome.
and I think that's why it was a natural segue for me, because a lot of the time, like we've already talked about, for students, it is a confidence thing, and it's a lack of
Yeah.
confidence that stops them achieving their GCSE or stops them achieving a good SATs result or whatever it happens to be. And sometimes we let that happen in business. We worry too much.
Hmm.
We're lacking confidence. And actually, whether it's teaching maths or teaching marketing skills, if I can give someone the skills and build their confidence, they can go and thrive. So to me, it's the same thing. It's just a slightly older person's.
Yeah. And from your perspective, how is the tuition industry changing and what trends should parents or tutors be paying attention to?
I think the tuition industry is growing. I think there's a move. When I was at school, a lot of tutors were part-time. They were teachers during the day, and they were earning a little bit of extra cash in the evening. And that has changed so much since I was at school. We are now a profession of tutors. There are tuition conferences, there's organisations full of tutors. It is now a profession in its own right. And that's amazing. That is absolutely incredible. And I think that will only grow. Unfortunately, we're in the situation where it's needed, and that's really sad. But at the same time, I think tutors could be the solution to a lot of the problems in education right now. As a business, we are going into schools, we are supporting schools with students that they can't support. And I think tuition could potentially help if we're allowed to, if the government decide to. Don't want to get into politics, but it could be part of the evolution of education. And I think if we can become a regulated profession, that would be amazing. Not sure how close we are to that yet, but if you're a parent looking for a tutor, definitely make sure that you're looking at somebody who is safe. Make sure that they've got their DBSs and everything like that, a safeguarding training. And if you're a fellow tutor, get involved in these organisations. Let's help grow the profession moving forward.
Okay. And focusing on your business, what would you say is your biggest challenge you're facing right now as a business owner?
Our biggest challenge right now is recruitment, because although there are more and more tutors out there, it's still a big challenge to find enough tutors for the demand that we've got. So we're always recruiting at the minute. And I've got an amazing team and they do a great job, but I think it will remain a challenge for quite a while, our recruitment.
And where do you see your business going in the next 6 to 12 months?
So in the next 6 to 12 months, our aim is to support more students and increase our student base. I am hoping to also support more tutors through the marketing side of things. I think we'll probably expand our group tuition because that's quite successful at the minute. And yeah, we're still very much in the growth phase. So we're very much just striving forward, trying to see that ripple effect go out as far as we can.
Okay. Well, Emma, thank you so much for joining me today. I loved how you've shown that tuition can just not just be about academics, but it's about confidence, resilience, and giving students the tools they need to succeed in life, as well as exams. For anyone listening and who wants to learn more about Core Plus Tuition, where should they go?
So you can find Core Plus Tuition on Facebook. We're also on Instagram, LinkedIn. If you just search Emma Harper on LinkedIn, it'll come up. And then Make Your Marketing Count is on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Great. Thank you so much. And to our audience, if you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much.